Hi, this is Aaron Wilson. The big news of Sunday, the Texans are bringing in veteran running back Nick Chubb for a visit on Monday. And I'm told as long as he passes his physical, he'll be signed to a contract. They're at 89 players currently, and he certainly won't be the 90th player on the roster. He'll be one of the top players on the roster as long as he's healthy. And that's the big caveat with Chubb is health. Last year, he was still recovering from the torn MCL and damaged ACL suffered the previous year on a Minkah Fitzpatrick tackle against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So a fully healthy Nick Chubb, certainly a much more interesting combination with Joe Mixon to work in tandem, and you have strengthened the backfield. So I expect this to happen. It's probably going to be a one-year contract. I don't expect it to be that expensive. But let's get into the reasons why they're doing this. So Joe Mixon has been in a walking boot this spring. He is out of the walking boot now, I'm told, and he still has somewhat of a small restricted brace on his ankle that is precautionary. He is expected to be ready for training camp. So they did this with the knowledge that Joe is injured, Dameon Pierce is injured, Dameon is also expected to be ready for training camp, and Joe was a Pro Bowl running back for them last year. But the Texans are trying to push for further run in the playoffs to go past the divisional round where they're 0-6 all time, make it to the AFC Championship game, make it to the Super Bowl. They have big goals. They are ambitious for this team. And Nick Chubb is a proven veteran. He's 29 years old. And yes, last year I know he was not super productive, but he rushed for still 332 yards, 103 carries, scored 3 touchdowns, and he was still getting back to full health and knocking off some rust. So once he was one of the most valuable and hardest to tackle running backs in the game, they signed him to a 3-year, $36 million extension in 2021. And then they restructured it last year, obviously, because of the injury. When healthy, he combines power and speed. He's 5'11", 227 pounds. He was a very good track and field athlete, and he was outstanding at the University of Georgia. That's why the Browns picked him in the second round. It's just a sad story because of the injury that cut short what I thought would have been a very long run. The Browns, they have moved on. They've drafted some backs. They have their own plans. But for Cleveland, he is one of their all-time leading rushers, up there with the Jim Browns and the Leroy Kellys. Great players. Rushed for 6,843 yards, 51 touchdowns. Career high 1,525 yards and dozen touchdowns in 2022 before he got hurt 2 games into the season in 2023. So this is a very good player, and I understand what they're doing here. And what I've been told on the reasoning about adding this 4-time Pro Bowl selection is it's kind of a no-brainer. He is, much more accomplished when healthy, a better running back than what they have. And that includes Dameon Pierce and Woody Marks. And they want to have an accomplished back, have a tandem, and Nick Caley likes having more than one good running back to operate in his backfield. So, this guy was so good. He's second team All-Pro one year. And just going back to, he's from Cedartown, Georgia, and he was football, he was track, and he led the entire state of Georgia in rushing yards with 2,721 yards and 38 touchdowns in any league, high school, college, or pro. That is impressive. Then senior year, 2,690 yards and 41 touchdowns, rushed for 6,983 yards and 102 touchdowns in high school. Certainly wasn't done, and this was someone that obviously did the 100 meters, did the shot put, did so many things, and so this was a big-time recruit. And so initially he backed up Todd Gurley, and then when Gurley got suspended, he became the starter at Georgia. First time he was out there as a starter, 143 rushing yards, 38 carries, Missouri. Then rushes for 202 yards, 2 touchdowns against Arkansas. And he broke a bowl game record against Louisville, 266 rushing yards, and was named the MVP. So as a freshman, this guy, 1,547 rushing yards, second in the Southeastern Conference. And, against Alabama, he tied the Herschel Walker record for 13 consecutive 100-yard games. And he came back from a tough knee injury against Tennessee and made it back, made a full recovery. So he's been resilient. He's been someone that's been very successful at the college and NFL level, 4,769 yards and 44 touchdowns. He's not a big receiver out of the backfield, but he is a pure runner, very difficult to tackle. He's got power, he's got speed, and he's got a lot of athleticism, and he's someone that runs with good body lean, someone that understands how to read the holes. He understands how to play in cold weather. I think that's important because sometimes there are some cold weather games in December, in January. So as long as this physical goes well, the expectation is he will sign a contract with the Texans. So they have, designs on bolstering the backfield. We'll see, would they have him do a whole lot, in a mini camp situation because he's been on his own. But, you look at, what happened last year. He started on the physically unable to perform list, and then they activated him after the 4th week, opened his window. They activated him formally prior to the 7th game of the season, and he scored a touchdown. First game in 398 days. So he made a good comeback. He even had a go-ahead touchdown against the Steelers. Then he broke his foot, but that ended his season. But as long as the foot and the knee are fine, and I'm sure the knee is fine because he's been, cleared from that injury last year. Now it's about the foot. And if the foot checks out, and I believe it will, then Nick Chubb will be a Texan. So where this leaves the backfield, looking at where they stand, yes, you have C.J. Stroud coming off of a shoulder connective tissue muscles that are, I was told exasperated by not just weightlifting, but throwing, the combination of the two things. But once healthy, and he is expected to be healthy for training camp, he's coming along really well, making some good strides in the past couple of weeks. Then you have C.J. Stroud able to hand off to Joe Mixon and Nick Chubb and throw the football to Nico Collins, Christian Kirk, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, and throw it to Dalton Schultz, who's now back too. So this potentially for Nick Caley, this offense is setting up well. And look at what the Rams did. They like to run the football. Look what the Patriots used to do. They ran the ball as well. And so Nick Caley, that's something that's important to him. He wants to put his stamp on it and establish the run. I know that's something that's important to Cole Popovich, the offensive line and run game coordinator. And adding Nick Chubb, to me, this is a case of the Texans not being complacent. They are looking to become a better football team overall on offense, and I don't think this is going to be expensive. I think this is something where there may be some incentives, that sort of thing, for a Nick Chubb. But, you don't have Joe Mixon out there right now. You don't have Dameon Pierce out there. It's not like it's important in the sense of, well, what are they going to be ready for the games? No, it's about getting the best possible roster together. That's what Nick Caserio and DeMeco Ryans are about, to compete. So adding a Chubb makes them better. And it's the kind of thing they should be doing. They're also looking at cornerbacks, I'm told, looking at some free agent corners. So we'll see if they set up some of those workouts, and they've been looking at some corners. Until they're confirmed, I don't want to put out the names of some of the corners that they are looking at. But I can tell you it wouldn't be necessarily a Rasul Douglas because he has a good offer from the Miami Dolphins. I don't think the Texans are going to spend to that level. But there are some good corners out there. So there's players like Jack Jones, there's Duke Shelley, there's even Damon Arnett. So yeah, I'll go back on. I'll put out a couple names. We'll see. I'm not saying that those guys are going to work out. We'll see how the Texans tend to go forward at cornerback. But the big news, Nick Chubb going to visit the Texans, take a physical, not a workout, but they're just going to check it out, check out the knee, check out the foot, and make sure. And if all systems are go, then add Nick Chubb to the equation for the Texans offense and the defending AFC South champions, looking to get as good as possible and to add players to augment what they've been doing this offseason for an overhauled offense that's made a lot of strides, that's really trying to improve. They fire Bobby Slowick, they fire Chris Strausser, they hire Nick Caley, they promote Cole Popovich, they trade Laramie Tunsil, they draft Ariante Ursary, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel. A lot of this has been an offense offseason for the Texans, for DeMeco Ryans, for Nick Caserio. And the idea is to bolster this team, to get better. And that's what the Texans fans want. That's what people are looking for, is to become a more competitive team. And, in terms of, I'll get into some more things tomorrow, previewing some things about the defense. But for now, the story, Nick Chubb. And you can read about it at www.click2houston.com. And my social channels at Aaron Wilson _NFL and Instagram Aaron Wilson 7128, and of course here on YouTube. Guys, thanks for watching, liking, and subscribing. We are getting close to that 8,000 mark, and I really appreciate everybody that's been along the way for this journey path to get to 8,000. Now I want to get to 9,000, then 10,000, and we'll keep growing it. And we'll have content all summer, and of course training camp and the season. I'll be at the road games, so to give you guys what you want, which is Texans conversations, Texans videos, Texans interviews, including my one. Please check it out on CJ Gardner-Johnson, exclusive with CD Deuce, the man, the myth, the legend, who has a lot of things to say, outspoken, especially about his trade from the Philadelphia Eagles. And I believe just from spending time with him, all of it is motivational fuel. It's something he does to push himself, and he, is looking to, push the envelope a little bit, add some edge, definitely edge, intensity, aggressive, high energy guy. As he says, high risk, high reward. And sometimes he will take some chances. He's a gambler. He wants to make plays. 6 interceptions last year. So interesting to talk to him. But yeah, please check it out. And please watch, like, and subscribe. Until next time, guys. Thank you.